Hello everyone, I'm back, as I like to say. In my previous segment, I shared with you just a brief introduction about the guides, the angels. Today I would like to share with you my story. My name is Marilyn Possig. I'm an intuitive angel messenger as well as a medium. And the reason I want to share my story, so many people are looking for alternative ways to help their self now, whether their issues is health, relationships, wealth, career, even just direction in life. And the ways that we've been taught in past years isn't working out so well anymore for people. And people are looking for alternative help, alternative ways, alternative means to help themselves find their desired passion, their desired goals, their happiness, their healthiness in life. Do we all have this ability? Absolutely. But I feel in my over 20 years of doing the spiritual work that unless you grew up in a metaphysical, holistic, spiritual family, that it usually, for most of us, takes a tragedy in our life. My tragedy, or should I say my awakening, began in 1995. My brother passed of AIDS then, and he suffered from AIDS for a good 3-4 years prior to that. And I remember thinking back then, not knowing anything about this world. I knew and familiar with psychics and had been to a few, not many. Didn't give it much thought, much energy. I had no idea that there was angel messengers, mediums, didn't know anything about this, hadn't ever read a book. But when my brother passed, that's when questions started to rise. Going, why did he die? Why not me? He was religious, he went to church, he had a wife, he had a child. I was married, but no children, hadn't been to church in years and years and years. I had dogs and horses, but no children. So I wondered, why him? Why not me? Then I got to thinking, don't ask me where these thoughts came from. What happens when we do die? It was only him and me. And my parents. Very, very loving family, very close. There was almost 8 years age difference between my brother and I. But I'm like, I just couldn't accept that I would never see my baby brother again. Don't ask me why, because I was taught when we die, that's it. And one day after his passing, a friend of mine gave me a book by Betty Eadie, E-A-D-I-E, entitled Embraced by the Light. And I read that book and I resonated to it. Thus, the beginning of my spiritual journey, unbeknownst to me. It answered a lot of questions, but it also opened up a lot more questions for me. I didn't dive into it. I wasn't led. I wasn't directed to do that. I was too caught up in life. I had my own business. I was married. My parents were still alive. So life goes on. And then, 4 years later, I was in Boston. I was opening up a bunch of kiosks and malls, and I was there for 4 months. And I took a manager with me who we lived together in a little corporate apartment while we set up all these different kiosks and hired people. And she was very, very psychic and very scared of it, as most people tend to be if they don't have the knowledge. And one night we were sitting there. Now you have to understand, we were working about 100 hours a week. Sunday night was our only night off. And I'm sitting in front of the TV. She's in the kitchen. And she came out of the kitchen and she says, you got a big white light around you. And I said, yes, the reflection off the TV. She goes, no, it's intense. It's like that show, I don't know if you remember, that show, Touched by an Angel, where at the end, big white halo shows up, and she says, "You're glowing." And I went, wow. Well, the previous year, I had gone to see an internationally known angel messenger, and when I walked out of there, I learned the knowledge of Archangel Michael and how he could protect you with his white light. So I called upon Archangel Michael to surround and protect me with his white light. And she had a tray of food, and she dropped it. And she goes, "Did you just call upon Archangel Michael?" I go, "How did you know that?" She goes, "Because I can see him right with you." So we're both amazed, astonished, but we started playing with it. And almost every night when we weren't dead tired, we'd start playing with it and see one another's angels and deliver messages, until one night I was able to see, describe, and deliver a message from her son who had passed, that I had no idea that she had a son that passed 2 years prior to my brother. And then in turn, she was able to see, describe my brother, and deliver a message to me. That, my friends, is what opened up my spiritual journey. When I got back home to Phoenix, Arizona, I just started seeing angels and so-called dead people around people, and I would share messages. And some people thought I was crazy and wouldn't have anything to do with me, and others was like embracing it and going, "Tell me more, tell me more, tell me more." So that was the start of my spiritual path. When I discovered that this wasn't going away, that it was here to stay, and not to be afraid of it, but to embrace it, I started learning more about it. I started studying with other psychics, one-on-one, in groups, in classes, reading books, going to presentations, never dreaming I would be doing presentations, listening to videos, listening to CDs, anything I could get my hands on. And I took to it like a duck in water. And here I am, over 20 years later, an author of 3 books. I do private readings. I do group readings. I do classes. I do presentations. And I also have 7 meditation CDs available. Who would have thought this little girl from Canton, Ohio, X-ray tech for over 20 years, is now helping people discover their own spirituality. If you would like to know more about me or schedule your own private session with me, I do these via Skype, phone, in person, or Messenger on Facebook. Or if you'd like to see some other live videos I've done, all my contact information is listed in the drop bar below. So I want to thank you for being here with me. And if you are scared of the spiritual world or anything out there, I invite you to join me on my next video, which will be all about protection and giving you even more introduction to Archangel Michael. Have a great day.